We are introducing a new series called CBSN Originals. The first features Vladimir Duthiers' report from the volatile suburbs of Paris behind the attacks in France. Here's a preview.
Comme le Dajjal. Ça arrive d'être vénère, mais pourquoi péter un câble? Peux-tu nous passer pour un manque de respect? Ça peut aller très vite.
The truth of the matter is, it sucks to be a Muslim in France. Muslims in France are poorer on average than the rest of the population. Their kids go to schools that are not as high quality. There is hardcore discrimination for jobs.
This young man, he has 6 brothers and 1 sister and a mom. They all live in an apartment this size.
In my opinion, I don't think it was, if it was in a richer neighborhood, I don't think that the police would have take the same choice, like grenading and shooting like madness.
But are these bullet holes over here?
We can fight terrorism if in France, at the beginning, we're not united.
And Vlad joins me now here on set. Vlad, I know you were in Paris covering the terror attacks. Tell me, what did you learn in this very first documentary series for CBSN?
So, right, this is a new series that we're launching at CBSN called CBSN Original, and it's our way to take our viewers behind the headlines, behind the breaking news, and really dig in very, very deep into the stories that we happen to cover. And in this case, we went in the wake of these horrific attacks in Paris to try to uncover why young people feel compelled. These are young people that were born in France or in Europe in some cases, in Belgium, but why they feel the need to lash out through radicalization at their own people. And we discovered some really interesting things. That young man that you saw there, his name is Julian. He lives in Saint-Denis. That's where those police raids took down the men that were suspected of carrying out the attacks in central Paris. And he had a very good point. You know, a lot of people have asked the Muslim community around the world to speak out and to apologize for what is happening with people who become radicalized. And he, at one point in my reporting, tells me, you know, the fact that some people carry out these attacks and they say that they're doing it in the name of Islam. Well, they're wrong. They're not doing it in the name of Islam. If they do it, it means they haven't understood the book. At one point, he told me that that, you know, the Quran says that if you kill one person, you kill all of humanity. If you save one person, you save all of humanity. And those people that are carrying out those attacks are not true Muslims. And he went on to say, if you would ask the same question of Christians when the KKK was murdering African Americans in the United States, you didn't ask all of everybody who was a Christian to apologize for what the KKK was doing. That was not a Christian act. The same with these are not acts in the name of Islam.
We hear a lot about, you know, trouble assimilating. You know, here in the United States, the Tsarnaev brothers in Boston, there was a lot about the older brother, his inability to sort of feel and identify as an American, to feel accepted and part of this country. A lot of people in these neighborhoods feel that same thing in France, and they feel just sort of like outsiders. So how can, you know, they better assimilate? How can, you know, the citizens, the people who've been in the country, you know, for a long time, for generations, how can they help to make these immigrants feel, you know, part of the community?
It's a great question. One of the things that man you saw in the intro there, the man with the beard, Felix Marquardt, he explains is that France does not track data or statistics on immigrants within its country. And they did that for a very noble reason. France is supposed to be a colorblind society, and the idea of tracking people by their ethnic background or by the color of their skin or by their religion was seen as something not being very, very French. But that has caused problems because it means that a lot of people who, in some cases, have been in France for generations, the same way your family has been in the United States for generations, they have been there for generations, but they are outsiders in the sense that they live outside of French society. They are in these neighborhoods that are called in French banlieues, which essentially the literal translation is suburbs, but really means projects. And that's where they live and that's where they act. And they feel comfortable there because they are surrounded by people like them from other countries. Saint-Denis, where we were for most of the time, which is just outside of Paris, is home to more than 100 different nationalities, people from all over the world, much like Queens here in New York City. They feel comfortable there. But when they go into Paris, which is only a 20-minute drive into the city, not even without traffic, there they feel as if they're outsiders because people look at them differently because they either have black skin or brown skin because they come from North Africa or West Africa. One man even told me that when he started working in central Paris, his boss asked him to change his name. His name is Abdoulaye. And I said, well, what kind of name did he want you to take on? And he said, a French name like Francois or Christophe. But Abdoulaye is a French name because Abdoulaye was born in France and his family is French. So that's the issue. They feel marginalized. They feel as if they're not part of French society because French society has not made them feel welcome.
And this is a greater issue in France than it is in other countries around the world?
You're seeing it now all across Europe. We went into Belgium, and that's going to be part 2 of our series where we tried to understand, because most of the attackers came from this one community in Brussels called Molenbeek. And that's where we went. It's a very different vibe in Molenbeek than it was in Saint-Denis. We'll talk about that when the second part airs. But you're seeing that in Brussels, in Belgium. You're seeing that in Germany. You're seeing it in the UK, where these countries, and remember, these were former colonial powers. This is the result, in many ways, of colonialism, right? France had all of these colonies in West Africa and in North Africa. England had India and colonies in parts of Africa as well. And now these folks are living in their countries. They, in some cases, fought for those countries. I met a guy who said, you know, my father fought for the French, the French Republic in the Algerian Civil War, then came to France and was treated like a dog, even though he had fought to keep the ideas of liberty, fraternity, and equality for French citizens. So this is an issue that all of Europe is facing, and we want to try to figure out why that was.
Awesome. Can't wait to see it. Vladimir Duthiers, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Appreciate it. You can see Vlad's full report Monday at 8 p.m. right here on CBSN.